So I'm going to go ahead and call the special meeting of the Springdale School Board, September 3rd, 2025, meeting to order. You all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. All right. Any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Creek and a second by Mrs. Cook to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And no patron. Motion passes. No patron comments. All right. So that brings us to the purchase of 1707 Westwood Avenue.
Thank you very much. I know this is highly unusual to have special meetings, but the close of the property, I think, is slated for Friday. And so it kind of worked out. We couldn't get to our next board meeting. Part of the reason why I asked you to maybe meet today is this came up kind of suddenly. Dusty's brother found it. I guess Dusty's brother's a realtor. And we had been working on trying to figure out a way to create a road access into Westwood on this location. And that would mean that we'd have to try to purchase this property from this owner. And it was becoming a struggle. And I think this is 1707. Show me where it is. Is that the other? 1703. Anyway, while he's finding it,
There's evidence.
1707 came for sale. I drove down through there. Dusty happened to be driving down through there and saw it on the map where it became available. And I think shot them just a really low offer just to see if they would be available. They had it at 250 or somewhere in there, and then it came down to 240 or something. I don't know what he offered, but he wound up at around 220. And surprisingly, they took it right. And anyway, he asked me after, I think he did it in the hopes that we would just take it, otherwise he's going to own a home. And anyway, started working on it. Yeah.
I was driving up and down Westwood because we were trying to figure out a way to get a connection. I saw that it was for sale, so then I called on it and then went through the process of making the offer back and forth, and then they accepted it at the 220. So then I said, this would be good for the district to have because this takes care of our access we need and for the school additional capacity for the sewer that is on Westwood. So, and I can show you the large scale drawing we just submitted last week, and we actually have a connection that's going to help us go to Westwood Avenue instead of to the gray for the sewer.
Here's some of the beauty of this. You know, typically, if a house is in the way, most of the time, the house isn't much good. This house is in really good shape. So, as you know, we're working on maneuvering another piece of property. Without going into a lot of detail, I know you already know a lot about it. But over on another piece of property downtown that we own, we can move this house there, and should we sell that larger piece of that property, another home's kind of in the way, we believe we can trade people who own that home for this house that we're going to set up, and it would create a bigger piece of the pie. Does that make any sense without going into a lot of detail? And it would really help the overall process. I hate to go into a lot of detail here, so that would shore up that potential move. And if not, we still have it over there and we can use it for teacher housing if none of that works out. Does that make sense? So it's a really nice house. So.
Is there going to be any issues with the city as far as making that street?
No, we've already talked to them about gaining access to Westwood from the property. And they're all for having the connection for another means in. If we were to do the housing, the amount of housing we have, we need 2 ways in and out, so we would need that extra one for the housing, regardless of where it's at, connecting to Westwood.
You want to go ahead and go through that portion for the show?
So I can show, so we submitted for Westwood Elementary, and so these are just some of the technical elevation drawings that we present that go as part of the large scale development. And then I'll show you then I don't know how much we want to talk about the overall school stuff today, but I'll show you the connection and what we submitted.
It's their meeting, whatever they have questions on, we have to
Yeah,
talk.
so for Westwood, this shows the new elementary school with the media center being renovated into the pre-K center. So you can see how it fits on the overall with where the existing building is. So I will go to the large scale drawings that were turned in. So that way we can kind of go through those. So here's the overall. And you can see here, this connection that we're talking about to the north will help us out with the cost of Westwood with utilities, with sewer and electric. So this is the connection we're showing through that 1707. Now, if it didn't happen, we can take that somewhere else. This is just the option with that property being included as part of the overall.
So you're saying the anticipated cost savings,
Yes, by being able to go to the north as opposed to taking everything back to McRae or to the east.
so it could be substantial.
Yes, yeah, we'll have savings. The cost of that, we don't know yet. We've got another follow-up meeting with the contractor to go through the cost differences. One of the main reasons is all of the cafeteria and all of the heavy plumbing is on this side of the school. And so instead of running it all on a new service to McRae, it's easier to run it out to Westwood Avenue. And also doing this, it plans for the future housing, if we're to do that, so. And then, here's kind of overall, if we were to have that parcel, then that's where the utility easements would be, and then that would be the drive and some additional parking to then be able to do teacher housing. Now, this is I don't know what the packet shows. Originally, when we looked at the property, we tried to maximize it out with 2-bedroom units to see how many we could get on there, but then we started to think more about the unit mix, and if we had the need for studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, or 3 bedrooms. So then we changed the unit mix up with different types of buildings, and then we got to a total of 62 units to be able to fit on there. And with 62, once you get over a certain number of units, you have to have 2 ways in and out for fire. So this allows us to be able to maximize to the 62 as opposed to not being able to do as many units. And so with the property purchase, it helps us out twofold. One, for the actual school and utilities, and then 2, if we're to move forward with the future project, then we already have access that we need to build out the 62. And
It'd help us with that.
yeah, and the additional of if we were to relocate the house, that would be needed at another property.
Is Westwood running across the bottom?
McRae.
McRae, that's what.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
Yes.
Westwood's going up over
McRae is here,
there.
and yes, and then Westwood is up at the top. Where
Okay.
you show the connection. So currently into the property, there's the connection to the neighborhood to the east, and then there is this in and back out. With the new design, we're putting in 3 new curb cuts on McRae, all of them aligning with the streets across, so that way for the amount of walkers that attend Westwood, we've got safer crossings going across, and then it also sets it up to where trying to get the traffic off of McRae, we have dedicated pickup lines we've got a 1st and 2nd grade pickup line, or I'm sorry, K through two pickup line, and then a third through fifth, and then dedicated parking for the access to the pre-K.
Plus, we're cognizant of all those trees too, right?
Yes, yes.
There's some old growth trees we don't mess with.
So who's building the housing?
Did you say who's building?
Who's building the housing?
Well, we're working with Accelerate, and we're also working with the Walton family. And there's a third component, we're looking for additional funding to complete it.
And so remind me when it's done, when the housing development's done, what happens? It gets deeded to the district?
It's ours. It would always be ours.
Okay.
But it could generate anywhere between $1.2 and $1.5 million per year in rent. And if it's all paid for, it would just be additional revenue to the district. But it would provide however many people who live in there access and the rent.
So this whole proposal means that we're not gonna have any, we'll own it, but we won't pay for it?
That's the idea, is that we would own it, someone else would fund it. That the Accelerate Foundation.
How do I get in on that?
Would help offset the rents. That way, bus drivers, custodians, teachers, aides, and all could afford it. It would be supplemented rent. And people could live here and work here and stay here and be part of our community.
Do they have to be employees? of the
They have to be
district?
employees of the district, yeah. And that's part of it. You got to be an employee to be here, and you got to stay here at least a year. You need to finish your contract.
So there's the current overall, and then this is just massing out the school and then showing how the workforce housing could be built in.
That's without the access road, right? Or is it?
It is, it's just, it continues to the trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned pre-K a couple times. I might be missing something. Is there?
We thought we'd have some pre-K classrooms in
The current media center?
Yeah.
the current libraries.
Okay.
Because we needed to keep something there instead of having a whole new rebuild.
Okay.
It's a remodel.
It's a remodel.
Gotcha. Okay.
Remodel and replace.
But it would be like a handful or the whole ECC or?
No.
Okay.
I think there's room
We have four.
for classrooms.
Okay, gotcha.
What's the building to the left, way over here?
That's district storage. Right now, it's the current, is that right, blue building? And so we would repurpose that. We don't have to tear it down, so we'd repurpose it as a district maintained facility.
Would we have any pushback from the neighborhood?
We would certainly need to do some community conversations, but I think,
It's gonna do nothing but help.
yeah.
I don't disagree with that side of it. I'm talking
They
about,
were
It's multi.
More traffic.
I'm talking about the traffic. I'm talking about going through.
Necessarily.
When you buy a house,
The
you
mayor-
don't necessarily know that next to you is gonna be a.
The mayor is
62 unit.
highly.
No, I'm talking about the street. I mean,
Street.
even.
The mayor is highly supportive of the proposal, and I believe the city council is too. What feedback have you received from the city?
So all positive. Yeah. And another component is the Greenway expansion that would be coming down M Avenue, being able to offer the Greenway to be able to come through the property and then connect over to the park. So that's one of the reasons they're also excited about this, is being able to take the Greenway through the property along the west side.
Is there, and I know we're probably taking longer than we should, but is there, like from an insurance standpoint, like does the district's state policy cover?
We would get secondary insurance like we do on the houses that we own that we live in.
So we're already doing it on a small scale.
We are. So we've been working with
accelerate, and we also have an outside gentleman who's showing us how to walk through this. And this is a financial model, so Dusty, if you want to talk through it.
So, with the help of the Community Design Center and their partnership with Accelerate Walton Family Foundation, they've already went through with the asks, because the way that typically it's set up is you have a project cost, and then the amount of to make the project work is what is shown in general obligation. And then the additional, to be able to offer the reduced rates, is the gap funding. So what they're doing is asking for the gap funding to make the project viable. And so Accelerate is looking at a $2.5 million contribution, the Walton Family Foundation is looking at a $5 million contribution. Both those have different terms in them that when you go through the financials. The Accelerate is basically a $2.5 million loan at a low rate. The Walton Family Foundation is a loan that's also a gift, because that loan is tied to a 1% return of the initial investment. So it's like I think it ends up being like a $30,000 payback, and the rest is all donated. So they're both set up differently. So there would be different agreements with both Accelerate and the Walton Family Foundation. Accelerate has already approved their portion of the funding. Walton Family Foundation, their board meeting is this month. And so they have everything that is shown here, as well as the renderings, to be able to make their decision. Which would then leave the general obligation of the 5.8, and then that is where we would start a fundraising opportunity for the city. And we've already had a few conversations about that amount, because the project works with the amount of income because of the gap funding that will be provided by Accelerate and the Walton Family Foundation. So it cash flows very well just based on that with the project cost. But then anything else that the school district could generate in funding for the general obligation just continues to help.
I told Dusty we have a project if he goes and finds the $6 million we need. He said, okay.
Or
But we're on the hook for the 5.8.
Yes, theoretically. Dusty is really.
I won't let you forget it either.
That's the beauty of if we have a project.
Is that just for the housing? That's just for the housing?
Yes, this is,
right?
yes, this is
For
for
the
that.
school.
Yeah. The school budget ranges between 24 and 26.
Yeah.
We're shooting for 24, but
And then, so then they put in for the financials, the studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, rental option, square footage.
when we met with Accelerate, our first conversation was about teacher housing, just teacher. And they said, look, we really want to invest in Springdale, but if you'll do it for all employees, we can really help offset those rents. Bus drivers, classified, any classified employee and certified employee. And that, I didn't know they wanted to do that. So that touched our hearts really, and made it easier. They kind of coached us on the application.
And then with this model, you have it set up with standard rental rates, but then there's also the mix of it changes based on employee income. So you can, the rent model can go up and down based on what the employee's salary is. But this is a general mix of rental rates that meet the HUD standards for fair market, which means it's 30% less than market rate. So like a 2-bedroom, it shows 1163, but in the market right now, a 2-bedroom is 1,500 to 1,600. So they take into account all of that and then show it at the lower rate.
So who's subsidizing the difference then, or do we just collect what we collect 30% less?
That's what the gap funding on construction is for, is in order to be able to offer it at the lower rate. So if you were to offer these at market rate, then the gap funding number would decrease, which means they would give less if you were going to be leasing at market. But if you're going to lease at the lower rate, the fair market housing rates, then that's where they come up. They give more in the gap funding.
And if we owed nothing for the property, we can afford to offer it at a lower rate.
How long does that agreement stay in place? Just
In perpetuity, forever? Is that the way it always is? or
Yeah,
is it-
so the way that the financial model sets up for, that's why I said they're set up a little bit differently. So here's a 10-year operating projection, and they show all the numbers, the amount of money that comes off. But then, if you look here, the Walton Family Foundation is a $5 million contribution that is into there with a $5,000 payoff. So they're basically donating the $5 million for the $5,000. Accelerate is a little bit different. I mean, you're paying back what they're giving, but they're giving it at a 10-year, 4.5% interest. So the Accelerate grant is more of a loan at a lower interest rate. And then this shows the 10-year, and I mean, they're showing a high 9.2, but it all works with these numbers of the gap funding from the Walton Family Foundation.
But none of this is in stone at all right now. This is just what we're
Yeah.
looking to.
This is just one of the pieces that would be benefited from the purchase of the property.
And regardless if we do the housing or not, 1707 Westwood is beneficial even if we just did school.
Yes, it still fits the utility needs
Yeah.
for Westwood, and it also fits the needs to be able to relocate that property to another one that would help out
Yeah.
with the process.
With a different project.
Okay. All right.
So if it's okay with the board, I would recommend purchase. We can pay for it out of the building fund.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the property at 1707 Westwood Avenue.
second.
A motion by Mrs. Cook and a second by Mr. Ramos to approve the purchase of the property at 1707 Westwood Avenue. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. I know I asked you to do some unconventional things, but we're in a conventional school district, and I think that we pushed the needle, and I think that's what we're supposed to do, because we do good things for kids. So thank you very much. Appreciate you all.
Well, with that, meeting is adjourned.